In a guitar-driven band, it can be easy to overlook the bass guitar, and in this clip, Nick shows the value of spending the time to get the bass sound right at the source. This can simplify the process and help inspire the mixer to focus on creating a killer record rather than worrying about dialing in a tone during the mix. Check it out and keep this in mind for your next production.
Bass.
Not a lot to talk about here, other than we've tried a few reamps as well. But the ones we landed on, we actually ended up getting the sound the way we wanted it at the source. I used two different microphones. It was a Beta 56 for this like more mid-range focus part of the sound, and then a Beta 52 to kind of get that scoopy low end. And again, this is more of like, I got the phase as like best I could. I did the 1K blip trick where I keep things in phase. And in this case, we used just an Ampeg 810, it was an Eden 410 and an Eden World Tour 900. These are both from like the 90s, so they're like a little older, but not like vintage older. And the World Tour, I don't know, I think they have one either from Soft Tube or maybe UAD has one, but honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite bass heads that a lot of people kind of overlook is the Eden stuff. So the chain going into that was, it was definitely the Cali 76 with slightly tweaked settings, which I did not get a point of reference for, into a dark glass, and then right into the head. And that was pretty much it. We kept it pretty simple. And I think I EQ'd the shit out of it with the GML. So any harsh frequencies I got rid of on the way in with this one. I was able to commit to the bass a little easier than I would guitar because it's not as much of a focus in this band as it is other bands. We did end up running in a lot of these songs, and you guys probably picked up on this when you opened these up, is there's an SLO bass. So we actually ran the bass of the SLO as well, and we got this really cool sound that we didn't really want to bring in until things started getting like really heavy. So at this point, you can hear this guy. So I definitely got rid of a bunch of this harsh stuff because that bass tone with the dark glass going into a guitar amp can get nasty. Oh, they're off. So yeah, that's pretty much all I did was on the Soldano one. I just cut the harsh frequencies that I would normally do on a guitar, but it's supplemental to the main bass tone. So you listen to both of them. And that just gave us a little extra hair while still maintaining like the cleanly nature of that initial bass tone in this song. And that's pretty much bass. Like there wasn't a lot to that other than we just really went in on getting it perfect from the source.
I mean, that's a good way to do things.
Because then you don't have to actually mix anything.
No, I mean, but for real, like that's seems to be like that's a repeated theme on this, is that you guys did a lot of the heavy lifting on the way in.
Right. And then the only at this point, when I pulled up all those guitars, it was mostly to, we were going ham on the guitar reamps. And in those moments too, you're cranking it, it's super loud, and you're making decisions based on feeling. And you're not really like objectively thinking like, how is this going to mix? So certain moves that I made just kind of gave me a little bit more edge in the mixing part of it. But the tones that we went for were based on pretty much like an amalgamation of like all their other previous works, like, knowing their band already and then being friends with Javier and then having them all come in too. And having like, we were working closely with Tosin getting the sound. So he was able to kind of get to a place where he liked, and I was able to kind of take a more technical role. I was like, okay, how is this going to mix? But it eventually got to the point where we're just having fun, making a bunch of sounds, and then that's where the plugins kind of came into play. Since then, I've been kind of adopting a little bit more EQ and compression on the way in, just because I know what I like at this point, especially on 8-string guitars. So like a future production might look significantly less plug-in heavy, especially on guitars.
Makes sense.